Leonardo DiCaprio, a name that has become synonymous with both cinematic excellence and relentless mystery. From his heartthrob days in Titanic to his Oscar-winning performance in The Revenant, Leo has carefully built a fortress around his personal life, letting just enough slip through the cracks to keep the world fascinated. But this time, something is different. Cannes 2025, the City of Stars, red carpets, and whispered secrets became the setting for a moment that could redefine everything we thought we knew about Hollywood's most elusive bachelor. Alongside him, Vittoria Ceretti, a name steadily rising in the fashion world, a vision of elegance and quiet confidence, walked beside Leo like she'd always belonged there. The camera flashes didn't just catch glamour this time. They captured what many are calling undeniable chemistry, and then the ring, that subtle, glinting detail on Vittoria's finger that has sent the internet spiraling into a vortex of speculation. Engagement rumors are no longer whispers, they're headlines. But what is the truth? Is Leonardo DiCaprio finally ready to settle down, or is this just another expertly crafted distraction in a career built on illusion and intrigue? It all began with their arrival at the Palais des Festivals. While the crowd roared for A-listers and directors, it fell nearly silent when DiCaprio emerged from the sleek black Mercedes, dressed in a classic tuxedo with that timeless, almost haunted expression he wears so well. And then she stepped out, Vittoria Ceretti, draped in a sapphire Valentino gown that shimmered under the Cannes lights with a poise that rivaled royalty. But it wasn't just the aesthetics that caught attention. It was the way Leo reached for her hand. A subtle move, intimate, unforced, but powerful enough to set every camera in motion. For years, Leonardo's love life has been dissected, joked about, and picked apart by tabloids. A carousel of stunning women, all seemingly swapped out once. They reached their mid-20s, became meme material. But Vittoria is different, not just for her age, which breaks Leo's infamous pattern, but for her demeanor. She's not chasing the spotlight. In fact, she's been avoiding it. And yet, here she was, front and center, not as Leo's guest, but as his equal. As the event unfolded, eagle-eyed fans and journalists began sharing close-ups of the couple. Then came the detail no one could ignore. A ring, sleek, diamond-encrusted, and worn on that finger. Speculation exploded. Was this Cannes appearance not just a red carpet moment, but a public soft launch of an engagement? And if so, why now? Why Cannes? Why her? To understand the weight of this moment, you have to rewind the clock. Leonardo DiCaprio has long been a symbol of resistance to Hollywood's expectations of settling down. Despite his fame, despite the revolving door of relationships, there has always been a distance, a wall, something unreachable. In interviews, Leo would skirt questions about marriage with charm and practiced evasion. But beneath that carefully controlled persona lies a man shaped by loss, fame at a young age, and the weight of a world that never lets you exhale. Vittoria, on the other hand, brings something else to the table. Born in Italy, she exudes the kind of natural confidence that doesn't need to shout. She's walked for the biggest fashion houses, appeared on covers of Vogue, and yet managed to avoid the kind of scandal or overexposure that plagues so many of her peers. In Leo, she may have found someone who understands the crushing weight of attention. In her, he may have found someone who doesn't crave it. But let's go deeper. Witnesses from the after-party claim the couple never left each other's side. No awkward posing, no rehearsed distance, just two people sharing looks, laughter, and something that felt real. One insider, who asked not to be named, said they overheard Leo referring to Vittoria as his future. Cryptic, maybe, but in Leo's world that's practically a declaration. Still, skeptics remain. After all, Leonardo has been here before. Models, rumored engagements, speculation that always fizzles out. Could this be another calculated move? A brief spark designed to keep his name in headlines? A relationship more about convenience than commitment? Or is this the one time he's truly letting his guard down? There's another layer to this story. The timing. DiCaprio is currently attached to a massive biopic in development, a project that is expected to demand not only his full attention, but his emotional depth as well. Could it be that nearing 50, Leo is beginning to reevaluate what matters most? Fame has never been a problem for him. Legacy? He's built one. But connection, real, lasting connection, that's the one thing. Even the world's biggest star can't fake, and then there's the ring itself. Analysts from jewelry circles have noted its design, minimalist yet elegant, custom-cut, likely vintage. It's not the type of ring chosen for show, it's one chosen with meaning. Not something you flash for attention, but something you gift. When you mean it, could it be an heirloom, a quiet promise, or was it all a misunderstanding, a simple accessory that the world turned into a story? But if you look at the footage, frame by frame, it's not just the ring. It's the way Leo watches her when she's not looking. It's the way her hand finds his with a quiet certainty. It's the shared glances, the synchronized body language, the rhythm of two people who have moved beyond the need for performance. This doesn't feel like PR. It feels like something breaking through. Their relationship, though relatively private until now, has been bubbling beneath the surface for months. Rumors first began circulating late last year when the two were spotted, vacationing discreetly along the Amalfi Coast. But even then, most dismissed it as a fleeting romance, just another chapter in DiCaprio's ongoing saga. Now, after Cannes, that perception is cracking. Social media has erupted. Fans are divided. Some are ecstatic, hopeful that Leo has finally found someone to settle down with. Others are skeptical, citing past patterns and warning not to jump to conclusions. And then there are those who feel protective of Vittoria, worried about what becoming part of Leo's orbit might mean for her rising career. What's undeniable is that this Cannes moment has shifted the narrative. It's no longer about whether Leo will ever marry. It's about whether he already has someone he can't let go of. The fact that he chose to make this statement, subtle as it may be, on one of the world's most glamorous stages is telling. Cannes isn't just a festival, it's a mirror. A place where stars reveal not just their films, but fragments of themselves. In the days following the festival, DiCaprio and Ceretti have remained silent. No official statement, no social media posts, just a lingering image of that night. The flash of a ring and a moment that felt suspended in time. Silence, for now, is its own kind of answer, and in an era where silence is rare, where every move is curated, every feeling filtered, and every thought uploaded, it speaks louder than 1,000 captions ever could. That single evening on the red carpet has now grown into a cultural moment. Not because Leonardo DiCaprio confirmed anything, but precisely because he didn't. It's the restraint, the refusal to feed the frenzy that has made this story feel different. There's something about the lack of confirmation that feels deliberate, even poetic, as though Leonardo and Vittoria are writing a narrative not for public consumption, but for themselves. A story that doesn't need press releases or Instagram announcements to feel real. The world has known DiCaprio as many things: actor, activist, bachelor, enigma, but vulnerability has rarely been one of them. His reputation has been carefully crafted over decades, shaped by an industry that rewards mystique and punishes openness. And yet, something in his demeanor at Cannes hinted at change. Not just a man showing up with a date, but a man letting his guard down. The way he walked with Vittoria, not in front of her, not behind, but beside her. As if saying, "This is someone who matters to me." It wasn't performative, it wasn't strategic. It felt like the kind of intimacy that doesn't need an audience to be valid, but doesn't shy away from one either. For a figure like Leonardo, whose personal life has often been reduced to tabloid fodder and internet jokes, this shift feels monumental. It challenges the narrative. It dares to break the cycle. Perhaps it signals that he's no longer interested in playing the role of Hollywood's eternal bachelor. Perhaps he no longer sees love as a threat to his image, but as an extension of his humanity. Maybe, after all the awards and accolades, what matters most isn't the next great performance, but the person you come home to after the curtain falls. Vittoria, too, is an intriguing figure in this unfolding drama. At 26, she's already graced the world's runways, worked with the most iconic designers, and earned a reputation as one of fashion's most grounded rising stars. But she's not just another model. There's a calmness to her, a kind of self-possession that suggests depth beyond the camera lens. She's never needed to chase relevance or stir controversy to stay in the spotlight, and that's exactly what makes her such a compelling match for DiCaprio. She doesn't orbit him. She stands on her own, which perhaps is what makes her presence beside him so meaningful. Their connection, real or perceived, has now taken on a symbolic weight. It's no longer just about them, it's about what they represent. Two people, each successful in their own right, choosing privacy over publicity, substance over show. In a culture that thrives on spectacle, their quiet bond feels almost radical. And in a landscape where celebrity couples often exist as brands rather than relationships, Leo and Vittoria's silence feels refreshingly authentic. This symbolic resonance stretches far beyond the glitz of the Cannes red carpet. It challenges the status quo of celebrity culture in the 21st century, where personal lives are content, relationships are monetized, and every intimate moment is treated like a PR campaign. Leonardo DiCaprio and Vittoria Ceretti's choice to say nothing, no joint statements, no staged couples photos on social media, no teasing captions, isn't just a decision. It's a declaration, a refusal to participate in the hyper-commercialization of love that defines so many modern celebrity pairings. While many couples build their brands off coordinated red carpet appearances, product endorsements, or stylized YouTube vlogs about our story, DiCaprio and Ceretti are instead telling their story through what they don't say. Their bond is made louder by its quiet. For DiCaprio, this marks a stark contrast to the narrative that has long followed him. The endless headlines about dating younger women, the internet memes, the jokes about his supposed aversion to commitment, all of it has formed a caricature that many believed would follow him forever. But Vittoria Ceretti does not fit neatly into that caricature. She is neither a fleeting tabloid fixture nor a shallow placeholder for a Hollywood bachelor's temporary interest. She is a woman with her own achievements, her own world, her own identity that exists independently of Leonardo's orbit, and that difference alters the equation. It forces people to reconsider what kind of man Leonardo is now, rather than who he has been. Vittoria brings something that most of Leonardo's previous relationships, at least as far as the public has known, haven't publicly reflected: grounded elegance. She's young, yes, but she's also deeply self-possessed. She has that rare quality of being in the spotlight without appearing consumed by it. Her career in fashion has taken her to the highest peaks of the industry, but she's rarely caught up in drama or social media spectacle. She carries herself with grace, not for validation, but seemingly because that's simply who she is. That authenticity, when placed next to Leonardo's well-earned world weariness, creates a kind of harmony. A match of energy, of philosophy, not just aesthetics. Their silence then becomes not a void, but a meaningful pause. In that pause, people project their hopes, their ideals, even their disillusionments. Because in a world drowning in noise, the absence of noise becomes magnetic, it becomes a kind of sanctuary, and that's exactly what this relationship appears to offer, for them and for those watching from afar. A sense of sanctuary, of something untouched by algorithms, sponsors, or gossip columns. This idea of two people retreating inward rather than putting everything on display taps into a deeper yearning. It reflects a shift in the collective psyche, a weariness with performative intimacy. The public, after years of being inundated with breakup announcements, apology videos, or influencer love stories that feel more like marketing than emotion, has started craving something different. Realness, mystery, even privacy. And in that sense, Leo and Vittoria have unintentionally, or maybe very intentionally, become symbols of a quieter, more honest kind of connection. Of course, some will say that silence is still a strategy. That withholding can be just as calculated as oversharing, but there's a difference between protecting one's peace and manufacturing mystique. And from every available glimpse, this doesn't appear to be a stunt. There's no movie to promote. No brand collaboration on the horizon. No tabloid leaks engineered to maintain relevance. Instead, it seems like two people navigating something real in a way that feels deeply personal, even sacred. Their presence at Cannes wasn't orchestrated with excessive flourish. There were no choreographed PDA moments, no grand declarations. Just the two of them, side by side. The world noticed not because they demanded attention, but because their energy commanded it. And that is the essence of authenticity. It doesn't shout, it resonates. In every unspoken glance, every subtle hand touch, there was a sense of intimacy too genuine to fake and too fragile to flaunt. What makes this connection even more compelling is how rare it feels in today's environment. Most high-profile romances are accompanied by a team of publicists, a rollout plan, and monetization strategies. They're introduced with splashy magazine covers or fashion campaigns. The relationship becomes a product with each moment commodified. But Leo and Vittoria seem to be guarding theirs fiercely, as if aware of how easily something precious can be reduced to a narrative people consume and discard. This guardedness may also be why their relationship feels like it has weight. Not just symbolic, but emotional. It carries the quiet gravity of something built, not broadcasted, something nurtured in private, not inflated for engagement metrics. And that sense of care, of deliberate choice, resonates with those who've become skeptical of celebrity culture's synthetic sheen. Because at the heart of this story isn't fame, or glamour, or speculation. It's the idea of two people, choosing each other beyond the need for validation, beyond the spotlight, beyond the noise. Their relationship, or whatever it may be, reminds us of something almost forgotten in today's world, that some things are more beautiful when left undefined, that love doesn't need to be witnessed to be real, that sometimes the most powerful statements are the ones never spoken, and maybe that's why this moment matters, not just as another chapter in the ongoing saga of a global superstar, but as a quiet rebellion against the culture of overexposure, a gentle reminder that even in the most public of lives, some things can still belong only to two people. And that in itself is a rare, radical kind of magic. But even as the world speculates and theories multiply, there's another layer to consider, the human one. Fame has a way of distorting everything it touches. It turns love into headlines, and moments into narratives. And for someone like DiCaprio, who has spent his entire adult life in the public eye, it's easy to understand why real intimacy might be hard to come by. Trust becomes currency, vulnerability becomes a liability. Yet here he is, showing the world a glimpse of something that feels real, even if he refuses to define it. Perhaps it's because something within him has changed. Approaching 50, Leonardo is no longer the fresh-faced leading man of Romeo plus Juliet, or the charming scoundrel from Catch Me If You Can. He's a man who has weathered time, fame, and criticism. A man who has won the highest awards and seen the ugliest sides of the industry. Maybe he's arrived at the point where authenticity matters more than mystique, where stability is more alluring than spontaneity, where love, not legacy, becomes the measure of a life well lived. And maybe Vittoria understands that. Maybe that's what makes her so significant in this moment. She doesn't try to eclipse his fame or ride his coattails. She doesn't compete with the persona. Instead, she offers something else. Presence, a quiet kind of companionship. The kind that doesn't scream for attention but speaks volumes in silence. Still, the ring remains the center of the storm. Was it a gift? A proposal? An heirloom? Or just an accessory that coincidentally landed on the most symbolically charged finger in the world? The answers remain elusive, and DiCaprio isn't one to offer explanations. But perhaps he doesn't need to. Perhaps the gesture itself, appearing with her, standing with her, letting the cameras catch what they may, was enough of a message. Not shouted, not confirmed, but softly, unmistakably declared. In a world addicted to speed and spectacle, this moment has unfolded in whispers, and that may be its greatest strength. There is power in restraint, in letting people wonder, in refusing to turn love into content. Maybe this is the new era of Leonardo DiCaprio, not as the untouchable star, but as a man stepping into something more vulnerable, more grounded, more enduring. And maybe that's what transformation really looks like. Not grand gestures or viral moments, but the slow, deliberate decision to choose presence over performance. To live, not just be seen. To feel, not just be admired. Whatever the truth may be, one thing is certain: something has shifted. The man who once ran from commitment now walks beside it. The woman who could have sought the spotlight now shares it without seeking to control it. And for those paying attention, the silence between them says everything we need to know, whether this story ends in an engagement, a wedding, or quietly fades into the realm of what could have been. It has already left its mark. Because in that suspended moment at Cannes, in the glimmer of a ring, the touch of a hand, the unspoken look exchanged between two people, we saw something we rarely do in the world of celebrity. The possibility of something true. And maybe, just maybe, that's enough. Imagine it. The world's most guarded bachelor choosing, finally, to love in the open. Not with a viral announcement or a glossy magazine cover, but with a look, a gesture, a presence. Perhaps that's what makes this moment so powerful. In an era where everything is content, this felt like something more, something deeply, almost painfully human. And if it is true, if the engagement is real, then maybe the real story isn't just about Leo and Vittoria. It's about timing, growth, and the possibility that even those who've spent their lives in the spotlight can find something quietly, defiantly personal. Something they protect not with silence, but with presence. So, the question lingers. Is Leonardo DiCaprio engaged? No one knows for sure. But maybe, just maybe, the answer is already written in the way he looks at her, and the way she doesn't look away. Stay tuned, because if history has taught us anything, it's that Leonardo DiCaprio never lets the story end when you expect it to. And this might just be his most unexpected story yet.